The story begins one rainy night when we see a young man, Ogbomudia, fleeing in the dead of the night. He stopped briefly, screaming, "Why? Why?" Now, years later, we see a young beautiful girl, IGBINOGUN, with her friends having a who is stronger play fight competition. Ogbomudia, whom we saw crying earlier, is now old. Now we see him telling his mother-in-law that the crops are doing well this time. The blind mother then thanked Olokun, the god of rain, for it. "Ta, mama, it's my sweat, abeg, not any Olokun." Ogbomudia does not believe nor serve Olokun. Wait, where was Olokun when my wife died in the forest while giving birth to my daughter? With my child left alone in the rain, where was Olokun? By the way, where is my daughter IGBINOGUN? Remember, IGBINOGUN is already with her friends. So the grandmother says, how is she, a blind old woman, able to stop such a lion? See, don't hold her back and don't try to stop her. Her part is greater than yours. Just then, we see IGBINOGUN win the guy she was competing with, defeating him with a total knockout. Grandma says Ogbomudia should just let her find her part. That was when IGBINOGUN arrived. "Where did you go?" She says, "Grandma sends her on her errand now." Ha. Mama that just said she doesn't know where IGBINOGUN went. Ha! This old woman quickly cover up for her granddaughter that, yes, so she sent her on an errand. The man knows it's a lie. Something is fishy. There's a secret between these two, and he promises he will find out someday. After they left, Ene, the old woman, takes a cowrie and seashell. She listens to the wind whisper something in her ears. A great sea wind is coming. Something huge is about to go down, and it has to do with this girl, IGBINOGUN. Quick disclaimer, this recap is for educational purposes only. IGBINOGUN is produced by Otabo and Orun Media and directed by Innocent Udeh. This recap is not meant to replace that movie, neither should it stop you from watching the full movie on Netflix. Also, this recap contains heavy spoilers. If you are just joining us, please consider subscribing and turn on the notification icon.
Hi, this is Sam. Welcome to the Film Village Up.
The chiefs then meet with the king to complain about a certain group of thieves plundering and robbing them of their hard-earned food and money. The chief says when it started, they thought it's just a small matter that will end soon, but no, water don dey pass garri. They need to know who is behind it so they can put an end to it. In the meantime, they ask that the king give them permission for them to start taxing the villagers. You know, they need the tax to ease the pressure. These chiefs only want to extort the villagers and put them in more pain as payback for the chiefs' properties being stolen. The king says yes, he approves. They should go ahead and start collecting the taxes as they wish. Now, guess who is robbing the chiefs? Yes, you are right. IGBINOGUN and her groups are the ones robbing the chiefs only. So her friend tells her that they need to rob the palace also, but IGBINOGUN insists it's not yet time. One of them insists that since that's where the taxes are kept, IGBINOGUN shouts, "Guy, you need to stop talking." IGBINOGUN insists it's not yet time to hit the palace. That night, she sneaks out again to rob another chief's house. One of them got greedy and takes more than he can lift. IGBINOGUN tells him to drop it. The guy says he can lift it, and even if he should be caught, it is life, not hers. IGBINOGUN says no. If they catch him, he would be tortured and then forced to give up their own names. That's right, so the guy then drops the load and take only a little. IGBINOGUN returns home safely also that night. Ene and IGBINOGUN's father, Ogbo, were out early in the morning. When IGBINOGUN comes out, she greets them. The grandma says, "My daughter, I see you had an interesting night. Why don't you come and tell me all about it?" This woman won't cast this girl. Ene, no nah. Are you so bored that you want to be told everything including my sleep? Ene insists. Come on, tell me about your adventure last night. The father says, adventures? The grandma quickly changed it. In her dreams. Her adventures in her dreams. IGBINOGUN says she will tell her later that for now, she's going to the farm with her father. The father says no. It's a man's job to take care of the family. IGBINOGUN insists that she wants to go with him to the farm. The father says, this girl, don't force it unless you want to take your shot. IGBINOGUN says she will win him this time. The father laughs. See, everything you know. I taught you. Okay, come on, give it your best try. Father and daughter then step out to fight. From there, then we were shown how Ogbomudia has been training his daughter how to fight and defend herself ever since she was a young child, to a teenager and then more. His only daughter, he is preparing her for what is to come. Now, back to them fighting. She still was unable to beat the father, so she says she gave up. Ene says, giving up is not an option. When you fall, you get back up. Since the father has won, IGBINOGUN could no longer go with him to the farm. Then the father leaves, and Ene begins to tell IGBINOGUN the story of her father. How he was a champion who has fought and won many battles, and how falling in love with her mother led to his downfall. Ene, how did my mother cause the defeat of my father? What did she do wrong? Ene says it's actually not about her mother. It's the fault of those that surround her mother. She says the only crime her late mother committed was falling in love with a champion, while the crime her father committed was falling in love with a slave. Now, let's go back to the past to hear this story proper. One night, when warriors were being selected for a battle to decide who will be second to the king, several men competing were handed a burning pot in preparation, while others were screaming and shouting. Ogbo collected and handled his own pot without a flinch. The maiden sent to give him the pot noticed his calmness. Her name is Itoha. This lady then went down on her knees and began to bless Ogbomudia. She said some beautiful words to him and wished him well in battle. Why are you blessing me? This maiden says because she sees that his heart is pure and he has a good heart. She then gave him a bracelet that after the battle, when he has won, he should please find her and return it to her. Now the battle begins. There was another strong fighter among them called Osage, who also has the support of the gods. The battle was so fierce that none of these men could defeat the other. The battle was taking too long. So for love, that slave girl went to seek the help of Olokun to help the man she has fallen in love with win. Yes, Olokun made it rain. The rain made Ogbo strong and Osagie weaker. Ogbo finally won. Now, here is where the problem lies. It was a taboo for a maiden to share her heart with another man. Her heart should belong only to the king and the gods. So, for that maiden to seek the help of Olokun, she has committed a great crime. So what now happened? Ene is tired. She wants to take a rest for now. Let's come back to the present. We'll go back to that story later, okay? Now, the prince arrives back to the village. He himself is a warrior. The chiefs then explain everything to him about the thieves and how they need his help urgently. He asks if anyone has been killed or injured during these raids. The chief says, no one has been killed or injured. These guys only steal and rob. That's all. The priest then promises to gather his men and look into this as soon as possible. IGBINOGUN then meets with her own friends. She, as usual, always give out her share of whatever they steal to the poor and needy. Why don't you even keep small for your family? She says she doesn't do this for her families. She then tells them they should prepare for that night. It's going to be a long night because them go fill it, them go rob chief's house, them go rob it, them go... sorry. Well, isn't my voice better than Davido's voice? Don't let him hear that, by the way. Let's continue. That night, the prince narrated everything he saw on his trip to his mother. He told her how mighty and many in numbers the soldiers of the north are. In fact, the prince agrees that if the north should attack them, they are done for. But we notice something here. Although this prince is said to be a strong warrior, he has a different view and a different way of thinking. For example, this prince tells his mother that he prefers talking to settle disputes than fighting wars. Anyway, it seems you have grown, Abi. She then tells him to find a wife now that he is back. You know mothers now. They laughed about it and then the king sends for the prince. The king then tells the prince to make sure that the robberies going on in the village should be stopped and the culprits should be punished. He also tells him that this time he wants him to also participate in the fight challenge where the king's warrior will be selected. These fights are meant only for generals alone. If I should join them, they won't want to fight me very well, because I'm a prince. They will not want to embarrass the prince. The king insists that, don't worry about that. You should fight. He will instruct every fighter not to look face but fight for their life. Now, the reason why the king wants the prince to join this fight is because his last warrior, which was Ogbomudia, betrayed him. So he doesn't want any betrayer this time. He prefers his own son to be the warrior head. The priest says he heard about that story also, that somebody Ogbomudia betrays him, but he was very young then, so he doesn't know what went wrong. He wants the king to please tell him what truly happened. How did that warrior betray you? Now, let's journey back to what happened again proper. After a battle led by Ogbomudia, which he won, the king celebrated him that night. Now, during the celebration, while people were dancing and singing, Ogbo and that maiden Itohan both snuck out of the palace to meet and have some alone time. The dance ended, the king began to speak and he wants to honor Ogbo. Where is Ogbo? Ogbo can't be found. So they sent a servant to search for him immediately. They brought him and he told the king that he wants Itohan, one of the maiden of the king, as his wife. The priestess says no, that is an abomination, that Itohan has to die for this, or someone else should die in her place. So Ito was to be killed for giving her heart to another man other than the gods or the king. Well, Itohan was locked up. One of the chiefs was planning with the king on how to attack another village and steal their cocoa land when a servant rushed in saying, "My king, Ogbo has killed all the slaves and escaped with Itohan." The king quickly orders that he must be found and brought back. This chief even started blaming the king that, see, instead of locking Itohan and Ogbo up in the first place, you should have killed them and done away with them. Well, that night, that was how Ogbo escaped from the king, and that is the reason why the king no longer wants another stranger as the head of his warrior. So let's come back to the present. IGBINOGUN and her men raided again that night, stealing gold from the chief's house. The next morning, they begin to distribute the gold to all the villagers. IGBINOGUN's father starts looking for her, asking Ene. Ene says she will be back. Back from where? The woman repeated her poetic sayings that the wind is coming, blah blah blah. While she is talking, IGBINOGUN and her men were already planning on how to finally attack the palace 3 days from that time. The father, disturbed and sad, was sitting waiting for her. When she arrives, the father begins to beg her to please stop whatever she is doing. He begs her almost in tears that he cannot lose her. He already swore to her mother to protect her and he cannot open his eye down and watch her get into trouble. Seeing how pained her father is, she promised that she's going to stop. The others are already angry with IGBINOGUN that she is not there with them to plan their attack. Nosa, who has always been challenging her authority, then angrily says that he cannot listen to IGBINOGUN this time. They should attack the palace themselves, abeg. If she doesn't come, that's her business. One of them then rushes to tell IGBINOGUN what they plan to do. She says they can't do this without her. IGBINOGUN then says she also cannot come because of her promise to her father. She doesn't want to break his heart. Well, that night, while they were robbing the palace, IGBIN was uncomfortable, getting up and sleeping. Ene just told her the fact that she can't run away from who she is. IGBINOGUN also tells the grandmother that she doesn't want to break her father's heart. Yes, they robbed the palace and the prince ran after them. They were caught. Now, those that escaped quickly ran to meet IGBINOGUN. They explained everything to her. Ene, the grandmother, was outside pretending to be sleeping but listening to them. IGBINOGUN quickly joined them to run to the palace. Now, they got there and from a distance they saw the king pronouncing death on the thieves that were caught. He commands that they should all be killed. The prince says, Abba, no, my king, they are just mere criminals. Don't ever challenge me again. Wait, hearing that they will be killed, IGBINOGUN says she will never allow that to happen. She must do something. You will do no such thing. IGBINOGUN, a thief? She says, it's not what he thinks. They only take from the corrupt chiefs and give to the poor. That's not an excuse. The father kept saying it's a criminal act. That doesn't justify your actions. They both talked for a long time. The father says he expected more from her and not this. No wonder NS says you are here for a reason. But how can that reason be stealing? Your mother would not be proud of this at all. This man cried in disappointment and then walks away. IGBINOGUN returns home to meet him. The father says he has always tried to keep her away from trouble, but the more he tried, the deeper she just gets in more trouble. She says she can't watch and see these people suffer like this now. The father says it's the job of the king to help these people. Then she says, since the king is not helping them, what then? Instead of helping them, he collects tax from them and makes life difficult for them. So it's her own responsibility to help them instead. The father tells her that it has been like that before she was born and she can't change anything. She says she will, and she will not be like him and sit there doing nothing. Come here. What do you know about me, young lady? Hey, this girl begins to tell her father some bitter truth. How he let the woman he loved get killed and refused to fight for her. How he, a once fierce warrior, now lives in hiding as an ordinary farmer. She will never be like her father. A very sad moment here. Now that night, she went ahead to meet with her father to apologize for the hurtful words she said earlier that day. She blames it on her emotion of watching her friends tied up like animals. She says she is sorry. Then the father sits her down, then begins to tell her the real story. So guys, for the final time, let's hear the real story proper. He was a warrior, the bravest, strongest, and the most trusted of the king's men, until he met and fell in love with her mother, the most beautiful woman he has ever laid his eyes on. They were deeply in love, but as the king's maiden and an Olokun priestess, they are never allowed to love anyone but only serve the king and Olokun. But her mother, Itohan, sacrificed all this just to be with him. Now, you know that night when they both snuck out to meet? That was when she told Ogbomudia that she is scared. That night was when he convinced her not to be scared of anything. He says she should leave everything to him. He knows what to do about it. Now, while they were sucking lips, the servant sent to call him came. Now, to honor him, the king tells him to ask for anything he wants except his throne. Then he asks for love. Love? We all love you, the king says. What more do you need? Any woman I choose. Please, my king, grant that I can be with her. Give me your blessings to go with any woman at all. The king says, okay. The queen, who has been suspecting Itohan and Ogbo, reported her to one of the Chief Toza, the most greedy one of the king's chiefs. Him and the queen then called Itohan to question her on whatever is going on between her and Ogbomudia. She says they are just friends. Okay. Has he, taken your maiden innocence? She says, no, he did not take my maiden innocence. So I gave it to him. Abomination. That abomination was what made the king to change his promise. Now, even though the priestess says there is another option, that means someone else can take her place, the king insists that nobody should take her place. Itohan must be killed. Ogbo says, my king, the priestess says there's another option now. No, that's final. Itohan must die. My king, but you promised. The king then cancels his promise. Ogbo says, but she's pregnant. Hey! Okay then. Lock her up until after childbirth, then kill her. That's final. After many months in prison, Ogbo came to rescue her, killing anybody on his way. Itohan says she's not okay with him killing people just because of them. He should meet with her mother and they can live instead. Now, while they were living, she went into labor. Ogbo had to go look for help. While away, Itohan gave birth. She blessed the child, says some prophetic words on her, hands the baby over to her blind mother, named her IGBINOGUN, then she died. She died before Ogbo returned from seeking help. The loud thunderstorm alerted Ogbo that his wife had died. That was why we saw him screaming, "Why?" at the beginning of the movie. Now, IGBINOGUN says So after everything you have done for the king, he could not even forgive you. The father says, if the king had forgiven them, the villagers would have looked at the king as a weak king. Killing makes people fear the king, so the king was trying to protect his own ego. IGBINOGUN then begs her father, crying. Now, she made a request from her father. This is what she asked. Remember, the warrior fight challenge is coming, and the prince is going to join. Now, IGBINOGUN wants her father to give her his permission and his blessing to also participate in the upcoming battle. The battle is for men. She says, I won't go as a woman, and I promise to win because you, the best warrior, has been training me for years. Gegen. Ene, the blind old woman, then blessed this girl. She prepared her to go for the fight and win. She performed some incantations and blessed her. She greets her father before leaving. She returned again to hug him, then leaves. Now, at the palace, the fight had gone far. It was time for the prince and IGBINOGUN to fight. But wait, she said she wouldn't be going as a girl. Anyway, let us overlook her chest, okay? Yeah. Now, while the prince was dealing with her, throwing her here and there, Ene was interceding on her behalf to Olokun to please help her. Her father also was restless, going here, back and forth. Ene's prayer helped IGBINOGUN. This young girl felled the prince and locked him until the prince had to surrender. Wait, the prince surrenders. That made the king angry and then orders that she should be tied up and punished. The king begins to threaten her, vow to kill her for embarrassing him. This lady did not even show a faint of fear. She wasn't scared of the king at all. Who is your father? This babe begins to laugh, mocking the king, saying, a flood is coming to sweep you away. Who is your father? Don't you know I am the king? And she says, I am IGBINOGUN, daughter of Itoha, a faithful maiden who was beaten and caged because she fell in love. I am IGBINOGUN, daughter of Ogbo. Yes, the king remembers Ogbo Mudia. I am IGBINOGUN, and I have come to save my people and avenge my mother's death. Today is Judgment Day, and you will pay. Oh, you are the daughter of that maiden and Ogbo. Okay, like your mother, you will die tonight. I won't repeat the same mistake I made with your mother. As he was busy threatening her, a chief rushes in. My king, come oh, it's the prince oh, please come oh. Now, guess what? Out of shame, the prince has killed himself. And in anger, the king returns with a machete to kill IGBINOGUN. He raises up his hand as he was about to cut her, then swash! Ogbomudia stabs him, twisting the machete until the king falls down on his knees. He then puts the machete on his neck and says, this is for Itoha. Then, he kills the king. That is the end. The queen mourns the loss of her husband and the son, the prince, and she then leaves the palace and left the village to go back to her own hometown. Then the movie ends. Wow, this movie is something, I must tell you. Now, I must say it is interesting. I enjoyed it personally, but I wish this director had watched Jagun Jagun before making this movie. Perhaps it would have been better than this. Well, what do you think about the movie? Now let me hear your view in the comment section below. I'll be reading and I'll be replying you. Okay, I'll be going now to bring you more wonderful recaps again. And as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And until we meet again, thank you for watching. I am Sam, and this is the Film Village Hub.